Greetings, I am the Lion Clan Chief. Welcome to the Lion Clan. Today's video will be focused on addressing a misconception that Africans didn't interact with Mediterraneans until the Arabs had come to colonize Northern Africa. Now, of course, this is completely debunked when you take into consideration the Berbers and their interactions with the Mediterranean. But when I say African, I'm referring to black Africans in this video. Starting with the Kushites. So the Kushites had a lot of interactions with the Egyptians, who in Lower Egypt were part of the Mediterranean world. So Kushites ended up being involved in trade as mercenaries, as soldiers, and so on when the Egyptians dominated. However, after the Kushites themselves ended up creating the 25th dynasty and creating the Kushite Empire, which stretched from Kush to Lower Egypt and parts of the southern Levant, they became a part of the Mediterranean world and were mentioned in various accounts. For example, in the Bible, the book of 2 Kings 19 and Isaiah 34, King Taharka of Kush is mentioned and is prompting King Hezekiah to act as the Assyrians, which was the most professional army in the world at that time, were on their way to decimate the kingdom of Judah and also Kush. With this as well, King Taharka is mentioned by the Greeks as Taharko the Ethiopian, who went into the Iberian Peninsula and parts of Europe. Now take this with a grain of salt. According to Strabo, this is what actually happened, but we can't confirm that. There's not much evidence for that because, to be honest, his hands were full with the whole conflict with the Assyrians. So yeah, take that with a grain of salt. But according to Greeks, the Kushites were going into parts of Europe and the Iberian Peninsula. Now, as I mentioned in my previous video, which focused on the African quilted armor and its potential origin within the Nile Valley, Ptolemy II took over Lower Nubia, and with this takeover, many Lower Nubians began to go north into parts of Egypt and also the Greek world. This is why you're seeing a Kushite with Greek-style armor depicted here in this Greek art. So they would go as mercenaries and also as merchants. Now, when it comes to the merchant stuff, if you read the Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, which is the Red Sea, the Greco-Romans mention trading with Eastern Africa and the Kushites, trading ivory, frankincense, myrrh, and spices and other stuff. And they, in turn, were going north to go trade as well. Now, when the Romans had the brief conflict with the Kushites under the reign of Kendake Amanirenas, they ended up signing a peace treaty which was focused on encouraging trade. So Kendake Amanirenas in 21 BC sent an ambassador to the island of Samos where Augustus was, and they brokered a peace treaty. Now with this, the tradition began where the Kushites would send ambassadors to the Romans. For example, in 253 AD, the Kushite king at that time sent an ambassador called Passon to the Romans, and this was a regular occurrence. Now, aside from merchants, ambassadors, mercenaries, and so on, the other types of people that were going to the Roman world were actually religious figures. For example, priests of goddesses that had been adopted by the Greco-Roman world. For example, the goddess Isis was adopted by the Romans and became very popular in parts of Rome and other cities. This is why, for example, you see in this mural dating back to the 1st century AD that the Greeks and the Africans are involved in worshipping Isis. The reason being is the Kushites had adopted the goddess Isis into their culture centuries ago, and it became a center of Isis worship. Just like certain Kushite gods became Egyptian gods, they were adopted, they just had cultural transfers and so on. So because of this, the Kushites went into the Roman world and partook in worship and rituals, which they were welcome to do, as you can see with this piece of art. Now, aside from the Kushites, other black Africans seem to have gone into the Mediterranean who were not Kushites. So if you look at, for example, in the city of Carthage, there is historical art and remains that show a presence of black Africans within the society. For example, this scarab corpus signet ring. As you can see on here, the warrior depicted is shown with a hoplite shield, a spear, and armor. Now, aside from art, there is a historical account which mentions black warriors amongst the Carthaginians. For example, in 480 BC, the Carthaginians invaded the island of Sicily and went eastwards towards a city called Yuma. Now, at this time, Sicily was under the rule of a Greek tyrant called Gelon. Now, Gelon met them outside of the city and defeated them. Now, a Greek author called Frontanius mentions that the Carthaginians had auxiliary troops that were very, very black, according to his writing. Now, this is why, of course, you're seeing depictions of African warriors within Carthaginian art, like I said, with the scarab corpus signet ring. Now, aside from that, there's thousands of these, or hundreds, should I say, that you can see with the faces of black people and also Mediterranean-style people who likely would have been either other Carthaginians, Berbers, and other Mediterranean types of people, as you can see with this piece of art here. Now, going into the Second Punic War, you see pieces of art like this statuette from Pompeii, going back to the time period of the Second Punic War. The reason being is, we know Hannibal's war is known for including elephants, him taking the elephants past the Alps and so on, trying to go down to take Rome, which, spoiler alert, he failed to do. So it appears the populations in Europe at this time were seeing Africans and black people amongst them. That's why you're seeing these coins that were made with the face of a black African and the face of an elephant. Now, who exactly is depicted here is debated. Some people think this is Hannibal, some people think this is a member of his family. This is an Etruscan coin, so the Etruscans minted this. The Etruscans at this time were enemies of Rome, so they were on the side of Hannibal in the conflict in certain periods. So some people say that this coin was minted to encourage the Carthaginians to come and assist the Etruscans to fight against the Romans. Either way, whatever the purpose was, it just shows amongst Hannibal's army, black warriors were there and were honored. Now, some people say this is Hannibal again. Some people say this is a god. Some people say this is just an elephant rider. Some people say this is just a symbol for his army. We don't know. we may never know, unfortunately. Too bad. The Romans had to salt the earth in Carthage. Who knows what they burnt down as well. Who knows what manuscripts we could have learned so much stuff, but anyway, it's all good. The Romans did what they do. Now, aside from, again, the people that I've mentioned, merchants, ambassadors, warriors, mercenaries, all that, there were people that ended up going into these regions to settle and to study. For example, this marble piece that you're looking at has the face of an African man who was apparently the student of a scholar. This scholar was Herodes. Now, aside from this, you have accounts which mention black people within the Roman population, marrying within the Roman population, some 1 or 2 names. Some of these were cooks, wrestlers, and farmers in Rome. So it's not too far-fetched if they make video games and films where you see 1 or 2 black people amongst the Romans or in the capital cities of Rome and stuff. It did happen. We do have the historical evidence. Same thing goes for Carthage. In Carthage, there were likely a lot more black people, but still, we understand that the Punics were from Lebanon, and the majority of the population would have looked Punic and Berber. That's totally understandable. But I'm just saying, if you see 1 or 2 black people in certain projects that show that, there's nothing to get triggered about, in my opinion. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this piece. It was originally a response to someone. I put that response on TikTok, but this was ages ago. So if you want to see the exact person I'm responding to, go to TikTok. But either way, you don't have to. It's just to educate people and to address that misconception. So yeah, black people and Africans were not as isolated as people think. Yeah, I know it's not I'm not saying that there were entire cities and populations of black people in the Mediterranean. That's not the point. I'm just saying that they were present in certain parts of history. In the antiquity and also in the medieval period, believe it or not. But I will cover the medieval period in another video, because that's very interesting. And also in Sicily as well, very, very interesting. There was a whole district, a city with a whole district that was populated with black people, which is very most people don't know that. Yeah, it makes me wonder of some mafia film I saw where a guy was getting interrogated and he started mocking the Sicilian guy, saying, "Oh, you've got black blood in you." I thought they were just taking the mic, but it's possible. Nah, I'm kidding. But yeah, man, I'm just saying, this history is important, man. People need to learn this. People don't know this. People don't dig for this stuff. So I hope you're learning something new. But if you already knew all this stuff, just let me know. If you didn't, I'm happy that you're learning something new. Please let me know what you think about the videos. Give me feedback if I have made an error, because researching this stuff, I won't lie to you, sometimes I do find some some information which may be wrong, or some information which I may have told incorrectly or presented incorrectly. So yeah, man, feel free to correct me when you have to. And yeah, man, I hope you're enjoying the content. I meant content, sorry, content. I hope you're enjoying the content, and yeah, man, welcome to the Lion Clan. Yes, I am your chief. Thank you.